On today's episode of Locked On Wilds, the Wild are hitting the road early and often in October. Will they like the road as much as they did last year? Time will tell.
Hey, this is Matt Boldy, and you're listening to Locked On Wild.
Hey, this is Marcus Foligno, and you're listening to Locked On Wild.
You're Locked On Wild, your daily podcast on the Minnesota Wild. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's happening, everybody? Welcome into another episode of Locked On Wild, your daily Minnesota Wild podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team each and every day, and we thank you for making Locked On Wild your first listen each and every day as well. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube, your favorite podcast platforms as well, so you don't miss out on any new episodes throughout the week. Today's episode of Locked On Wild is brought to you by FanDuel. Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com and win $300 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. On today's episode of Locked On Wild, Zach Zeman is back as we take a look at the October schedule for the Minnesota Wild. Plenty of road games mixed in for the Wild to start off the season, which was no problem last year. Will the Wild have the same level of success on the road this year? We'll take a look at that as well as a new game to break down the schedule that we'll unveil for you in segment 3. My name is Seth Toupal, host of Locked On Wild, bringing you credentialed coverage of the Wild here in 2025-2026, and joined by one of the regulars here at Locked On Wild. Zach Zeman is back. And Zach, it's been a lengthy offseason, equal parts long, equal parts way too quick. But the season is right in front of us now, and haven't had a chance to get your thoughts. So let's start with kind of where your head is at coming into this season. Kirill Kaprizov signed long-term. Filip Gustavsson's back. Marco Rossi is signed for 3 more years. Where are you at with the Wild heading into 2025-2026?
Yeah, historic offseason in the 25 now year history of this franchise. Honestly, let's just start with the elephant in the room. Kirill Kaprizov signing historically money-breaking, biggest contract in NHL history. The face of the franchise has been unlocked in year 25. Kirill Kaprizov pretty much with a blank check. We've seen the negotiations, but that is just nothing we're not used to. We saw that back when he was negotiating his prior contract, the one he's currently on, with Paul Theophanos at the helm. I was never, ever scared that this deal would happen. I knew we were kind of in a position where, look, you got the franchise guy on the line. Do you give him whatever he wants and move forward with your guy, or do you really let him go to any other team and terrorize you for the next how many years these Russians play nowadays? I knew it would happen. I was kind of shocked to see that a lot of our fans were skeptical about this, honestly. Of course, it's a contract negotiation that's going to go all over the place. It's going to get blown out of proportion. It just takes time. Honestly, he had a full year. He could have waited to sign this deal, and it's really exciting, and relieving that he got it done in the way he did. People are going to say that you overpaid for him. He's super injury prone, which is true. He is injury prone, but at the same time, if you're Bill Guerin, there's really nothing you could do. I think you have to lock down that kind of a caliber player. Yeah. And of course, the McDavid news, the following days of him signing a lesser, deal with the Edmonton Oilers for 2 years, 12.5. It starts to raise some eyebrows. Obviously, he's in a completely different scenario. They are actual contenders, and that's a whole different thing. So it's good. It was good. I'm really happy just to put an end to that Kirill thing. Like, he's our guy. He's at the helm moving forward with this franchise. I would have done the same thing. Who do we got? Filip Gustavsson, another huge deal. 5 years. That contract will age like fine wine. We have Gus in his prime. We saw what he was able to do with this hockey team last year. Every single person was injured in front of this man at goal. And he was really able to single-handedly take this team to the playoffs. There's really no amount of money less that I would have given him, clearly. The goalie market nowadays is ridiculous. He will get what he deserves. And, man, wow, we are very thankful to have a goalie like him in one of our nets. And now it's Wallstedt behind him, which is pretty interesting, too. No more marc-andre Fleury, unfortunately. That was a fun ride. So that's another big story, big piece to this franchise moving forward is how well can Jesper Wallstedt develop under him? We've seen his development the last couple of years. But man, I'm really hoping that it all works out well, and that that Gustavsson contract is one that I'm adoring, honestly. Just a great move. And then Marco Rossi, that was a whole nother thing. And it's so easy to be pessimistic and down on, the type of play that he was surrounded with last year. There really wasn't a big sample size almost of players consistently around him where he could actually turn into a consistent hockey player. Every single lineup last year was different, it felt like, especially around him, a player who's really not on the first line. And, what does the team value him at in the playoffs? What's all going on there? There's a whole lot of narratives with that. But just the fact that all three of those players are locked down, there are no more big contract news right now with this team. You got your guys, you're locked in, no pun intended. Let's go. You're locked on. But yeah, no, this year it feels good. It feels solid. I'm just happy that none of the off ice drama is a thing really at the moment. And that's, I think, is a huge piece for this team moving forward this year. I'm really happy that we're officially back. Everyone's locked in, and I'm just excited to see what this year is. I'm pumped, man. How are you?
You brought up something first off that I had not considered. Could you imagine the number of goals that Kaprizov would have scored against the Wild had he been on a different team? That is going to give me nightmares going forward. But you bring up a good point. Just looking at kind of where the rest of the Central Division teams are at. We talked about a little bit with Kevin Gorg yesterday. Dallas is in a cap predicament, to say the least. They are right up against it. In order to make any sort of moves, they're going to have to subtract something from their roster. The Colorado Avalanche, as you and I were talking before we hit record, Zach, they've been a team that has had similar levels of injury, if not more, to where the Minnesota Wild have been the last couple of seasons. Winnipeg Jets were one of the healthiest teams in the league last year. They have already started to deal with a major amount of injuries. So I'm at the point where I see a little injury luck for the Wild and the Avs. No luck at all for the Jets and the Dallas Stars. If they suffer injuries, it's going to be tough sledding for them to fill those spots in their roster. I'm not envious, though, because the Wild have been in that spot for the last couple of years, and now they finally have a little cap room, a little breathing room to be able to navigate if they need to. So I'm, as far as does this team make the playoffs or not, I just don't see, unless there's some just cataclysmic level, DEFCON 5 level injury bug that hits this team. I don't see there being a way that they don't make the postseason. I'm willing to clip that and post it so that if something does happen, I can say, oh, geez, I jinxed them right at the beginning of the season. But I think this will be a playoff team. I'm excited to see kind of how this ride unfolds, because Billy's been dropping little hints as the offseason has gone on, that now that everybody's locked in, the contracts are done, he's got some morsels that are there to be had if there is a trade to be made. He's got some assets to send off to somebody, and I'm excited to see what exactly that entails.
It's interesting because, even last year we were talking about the Minnesota Wild prospect pool and how it's one of the greatest in the league currently. And now 365 days later, it's even more of a factor. Now you're able to bring in these new faces in the lineup come Thursday in St. Louis. You have a lot of different options. And, obviously not all of them can play. You have chess pieces of young talent that you can just dish them out and do whatever if you're really willing to make that move. This team is deep. There's really no denying it. It's just, even going back to last year, we saw the depth in how this team was just riddled with injuries, and they still somehow were able to make the playoffs. Even though it came down to the last game of the year, they still got in, and they gave Vegas a series that probably could have been a sweep. Like, let's be honest.
Yeah.
It was just one of those weird times where they were holding players out for the playoffs. Like they're so long-term hurt that we have to wait until the playoff starts to play them. And because of so, we're not able to make moves at the deadline, which I don't even know if hindsight 2020, that was a good move or not. Clearly it was. I don't know. But, this team is still able to make the playoffs. And I do not see a scenario this year. And I really am going to knock on wood now because it was so miserable to watch last year, where this team has that many injuries. Let's just say they don't. This team literally can go to the Western Conference Finals. I don't see, I'm honestly so willing to die on that hill. This is one of the teams that we have perfect right now. I think that with everything going on with Zuccarello and Brodin, sure, they're injured. That's a whole nother story. But once they come back and this team is clicking on all cylinders, I really do see, if there are no injuries involved, this team can really make a difference, especially with the early road games. You have a chance to really jump in the standings quick. And I really do see it. I don't think that it should be that much of an issue, honestly. This team's stacked. We've looked great in the preseason. Kirill and Boldy, everyone's charisma is clicking. There's something going on right now with this team that I absolutely love. And it's kind of nice that we can afford to test out the goalies now. Wallstedt can come in and we can, have the luxury to get him into the system. Whereas the last year was Fleury was obviously the lock as the backup. So now we have time to really get to know our guys more if the injuries aren't a thing. I can't believe I have to keep referencing that because I'm so nervous that it'll become a thing again. And that's all we were talking about last year. We never saw a really healthy lineup late in the year. And that's something I'm really looking forward to. If that can stay a thing, this team can make a huge run. And I'm really so serious about that.
I'm going to have to make a sign that says we are hoping that injuries don't happen and be don't make me tap the sign or something.
Can we just turn off injuries? Is that a thing?
I've done it. I've done it anytime I make a franchise on NHL, whether it be 25 or 26. First thing that I do is I turn the injuries off because I'm I have watched enough real life hockey that I am not even going to deal with it.
Mm-hmm.
So there has to be a way. There's got to be a button. There's an easy button at B-dubs for games. Why couldn't there be an easy button for injuries in real
Literally.
life?
Sponsor us.
Let's look at the schedule. Let's dive into the October schedule because it gets going in earnest with a game on the road against a rival. And Marc-Andre Fleury's not here to fight Jordan Binnington this time. So we'll take a look at the schedule and give some of our thoughts on the key games in the month of October. And then we are going to play the schedule game to end the show. Got to get a working title for that. But you'll see it's going to be a fun way to keep track of how the schedule's going throughout the year. That's all coming up as we continue today's episode of Locked on Wild after this. Today's episode of Locked on Wild is brought to you by Indeed. You just realized your business needed to hire somebody yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? It's easy. Just use Indeed. When it comes to hiring, Indeed is all you need. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other sites. Indeed's sponsored jobs put your post at the top of the page and help you reach the right candidates faster. I know it works, being one of those candidates that was looking for jobs a couple of summers ago. The only thing that I was looking for was those ideal matches at the top of the page, and that ended up being how I found my new gig where I'm at right now, and I'm absolutely loving it. So that is proof positive that the sponsored job posts work. Now you can speed up your hiring process with a $75 sponsored job credit. Just go to Indeed.com/lockedon right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring, Indeed, is all you need. Welcome back to today's episode of Locked On Wild. Once again, we thank you for making Locked On Wild your first listen each and every day. Again, make sure to like and subscribe on YouTube and your favorite podcast platforms. We're at 3635 now for YouTube subs, just continuing to go straight up the mountain. And we're going to hit it. I don't know exactly when, but we are going to, at some point during this season, hit 1 million views on YouTube. At some point during this season, I don't know exactly when, but I have the official count, so it's going to happen. So just keep pumping those views, and it'll happen sooner than later. But Zach, let's take a look at this schedule for October. A nice mix of road and home, east and west. The season starts Thursday against St. Louis on the road. Then a couple of home games against Columbus and Los Angeles, at Dallas, at Washington, at Philly, at the Rangers, the Devils, home against Utah and San Jose, and Winnipeg and Pittsburgh. All told, there are 3 back-to-backs, a couple of games against divisional opponents, 3 to be exact, and the East Coast swing right off the bat. So what are some of the things that really jump out to you about the October schedule?
Yeah, I feel like whenever the schedule makers get together and, do their little meeting or however it goes, they always like to make it a little difficult for the Minnesota Wild right off the bat. Last year in the first month or two, we saw how dominant this team can get on the road. And that carried on, honestly, throughout the whole season. And so now we're getting a good test early. And the thing I noticed about this is that the away games, the away road trip is in the East. And so you get, like you said, Washington, Philly, New York, and New Jersey Devils. Those are games where, yes, they're road games and you're on a road trip, but those are games you can afford to drop. I'm not saying that they're gonna, but those are games that you could really start to get some trial and error within the lineup. Having those early on in the year is probably not the greatest thing in the world, but having them against Eastern Conference teams gives you a little bit of a buffer to be like, okay, hey, now we can get a test of like what it's like over here in the East. But then also the losses don't really necessarily mean as much as they would against Western Conference teams. So I kind of do like the little road test right off the bat. Starting in St. Louis is obviously really cool. These two teams are always together in the standings. We see, the Wild and Blues have just gone at it. Like you said, Fleury fought Bennington. I was actually at that game. And so there's always a good little rivalry between the two. And then you open the home opener against Columbus on a great Saturday night. Columbus last year also came in to the formerly known as Xcel Energy Center. And the Wild beat them right off the bat. So I think this is a game. Those are 2 games where you can really catch a couple wins in. But yeah, off the bat, the Eastern Conference teams, it's a little bit of a gauntlet to start, but then you end the month with 4 straight home games, and they're staggered pretty much. I mean, Utah and San Jose back-to-back shouldn't really be that tough. And then you get to Winnipeg, on the 28th there at Tuesday. So some winnable games for sure, some losable, which you can afford, which is really nice. So that's kind of what I'm seeing straight out of the bat in the month of October.
It's interesting to me, the amount of success that the Wild have had against the Eastern Conference over the last several seasons. I would trade every single bit of that to simply own the Central Division, like consistently. Like,
Literally.
yeah, it's great that they beat up on the East as much as they have, but it has not been great against the Eastern or the Western Conference, especially the Central Division, although that started to flip last season. The Wilds split with Dallas. They went 2-2. They had a 3-1 record against St. Louis. But teams like Utah, they were 1-3 against Utah. They were 0-2 against Winnipeg, 0-2-1. They split against Colorado. They split against Dallas. They went 3-0-1 against Chicago. The team that I really want to see the numbers improve against is Winnipeg. And so you went 2-2 against Dallas and Colorado. How about a winning record against those teams this year? Like, how about getting to 3-1 or 3-1-1 or something like that? You find a way to add points to those teams that you've gone toe-to-toe against so many times. That's how the Wild climb higher up in the standings. And I think this is the year to do it. They have not had fun against the Los Angeles Kings for the last two seasons. So that will be interesting to see what that Kings team looks like on the 13th. But the games that I care about in the month of October, at St. Louis, at Dallas, home against Winnipeg, and home against Utah. Like, circle those four. And if the Wild can go at least 2-2 in that stretch, I would consider that a major win. I would love to see 3-1. I just want to start seeing some wins against the Central.
Yeah, I mean, let's think about it right now. It's Sturm, Brodin, and Zuccarello, I think, are the big three that are out.
Yeah.
I still think you can beat St. Louis.
Mm-hmm.
You can beat Columbus. You can beat Los Angeles. And hasn't happened much recently, but I think you can beat Utah specifically at home. Man, even when they were the Arizona Coyotes, they were so good against the Wild. We covered a game in person like 2 years ago where it was like 6-1 and Bukestad had a hat trick type of thing.
Yeah, that was hideous.
Now he's on St. Louis. So, but I think he's kind of hurt too. Anyway, I'm getting on a Bukestad tangent in the season opener podcast. But yeah, man, the Central Division games, you go 2-2, 2 home games, 2 away games. The away games being obviously St. Louis and Dallas, and the home games being Utah and Winnipeg. Man, Winnipeg has given this team a lot of grief in the last couple of years. And like you said, what better than, to catch a couple wins against those guys earlier in the year, get that Winnipeg number back onto the good guys' side. That's also in the middle of a homestand, which is kind of sweet too. I think that's going to be really beneficial for this team.
That's a good opportunity to make an early statement.
For sure.
And that's the one of all the games on the schedule. That's the one I have circled. There are plenty of important games. Don't overlook the game at Philly. I think the Wild definitely overlooked that game last year. That ended up being, I think it was a 7-5 loss.
Yep.
Just an absolute dumper of a game. Yeah. It just miserable. Like, I
right when
the
Wild were so good on the road, walking into that game too, and of course Philly just caught them.
I remember watching that game, and I'm like, this is just putrid. Like, they nearly came back to win it too. That was the craziest thing. Is Philly was like, I don't care how bad you guys are playing, we don't want this game, and the Wild were like, nah, we're okay. We don't want it either.
Yeah, that's fine.
So, it is 12 games this month. So I would say you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You've got 6 home games. So an even split, 6 home games. I feel like in any instance in which you have 6 home games, you got to win 4 of them generally. You want to try to win 2 out of every 3 home games. The good teams do.
Absolutely.
And on the road, if you can find a way to win 3 out of the 6, if you can get points in like 4 or 5 of the games, that's a good start to the season. And that would lead me to believe that I'll put the number at 7. I'll put the number for over-under for the month at 7. Do you think they go over that or under?
That's a great line. Honestly. Yeah, I see around 7 too, because I'm just going to say mine. I think they beat St. Louis. Columbus is a win for sure. I think they beat Utah for sure, San Jose, and I know they beat Pittsburgh. So that's at least 6.
Mm-hmm.
And then I haven't even gotten to the road games. I did. I mean, I included 1. But yeah, for sure, 5 of those home games are wins. And if you can take 2 on the road, perfect, honestly.
Yeah. It's very attainable. I call it early season overconfidence, but I will take the Wild to go over the 7 for the month of October. I think they're capable of getting off to a good start. Kaprizov is healthy, Boldy's healthy, Rossi's healthy. Lean on that line a little bit. Gustafsson's healthy. Lean on those top guys to get them going early. And I think the Wild can win 8 out of the first 12.
Yeah, you know what's funny is if you could go back and listen to what we were saying in like February or January or March of last year, the lines that we had were so accurate. Yeah. I don't know if you remember this. The team was so injured, so down bad, and we were just actually giving them the benefit of the doubt almost every podcast that we recorded, even if the vibes were so low, and they were still able to maintain, overachieving what we were saying. And the fact that we're coming out here and saying 7 of those should be wins, I think they do more because last year they kept proving us wrong by 1 or 2 games even. So I think you got a shot. I'm so on board with the over as well. So I'm so high on this team. I feel so much different about this team than I have the last couple of years. I feel like I say that every year, but no, this one's big. I haven't really gone out and said like a bold prediction of Western Conference Finals like I have any other year. But man, if this team is healthy, and they pretty much are right now, minus Brodin and Zuccarello, who are 2 big pieces to this team, I still think they're able to scratch and claw their way to over 7 goals in this month.
I'm just going to point it out because the games are being played as we're recording. Justin Brazeau now has 2 goals for the Pittsburgh Penguins as the Rangers are trailing 2-0 to Pittsburgh.
Wow. That is a storyline and a half.
That's weird. We're not going to dwell on it though, because we have a lot to get to. We have our schedule game that we will unveil here for the final segment today. So one more quick break, and then we're going to pick this schedule apart right here on Locked On Wild. Today's episode of Locked On Wild is brought to you by FanDuel. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel has an offer you don't want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Just pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. With the Minnesota Vikings on a bye this week, you can get things started with the Minnesota Wild on the road against the St. Louis Blues. Your $5 bet could be the Wild to win. And then the $300 in bonus bets could go to Kirill Kaprizov as the Hart Trophy winner. He's currently plus 1,000 right now. Or maybe you're feeling a little more adventurous. Matt Boldy's plus 50,000 for the Hart Trophy. Or you could go with Mizzou, go Tigers, roll Tigers. The there are plenty of options. FanDuel makes it so easy to. It's all in one place. You can find all of the different betting options they have, all on the app. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started. Final segment of today's episode of Locked On Wild. And once again, we thank you for making Locked On Wild your first listen each and every day. All right, Zach, it's game time. So I'm going to explain this because this is different from last year, but I think this is going to be a lot of fun to keep track of throughout the season. So we are going to take the schedule a month at a time. Each of us are going to pick games. We're going to draft games for the month to try to get points based on how they do it in the regular season. I know the overtime points kind of stink, but we're going with it. We're keeping it as the NHL does it. So basically what you're trying to do is you're trying to get the most points. And for instance, I could draft the Dallas Stars game on October 14th, and maybe I think the Wild are going to lose that game. If that is the case, then I get 2. Or if that game goes to overtime, I get 1. And there's going to be a third player involved, the Ghost. The Ghost gets the favorite every time, just to keep it simple. We don't want to try it. We don't want to try to figure out what a Ghost player is going to do, what sort of tendencies, what the Ghost player did the night before, what bills the Ghost player has coming up and is thinking about trying to pay. Like, we don't need to get inside the head of a person that doesn't exist. So we're just going to give them the favorite every time. But what we're going to do, it's easy to start because there are 12 games in the month of October. So we're each going to take 4. Zach, you and I will alternate picking games, and then the Ghost gets the rest. So I will let you do the honors as the guest to pick the first game. And again, you pick the game and you pick what you think the result will be. And if you're right, you get 2 points. If you pick a team to win and the game goes to overtime, you obviously get 1. Mm-hmm. So go ahead with your first pick.
I think there's 2 easy games this month that I think we're both going to take pretty much right away. But for the vibes, I'm going to take the home opener, and the Wild will beat Columbus on Saturday, October 11th. There is no way they lose that game. No way.
All right. I like that. I am going to go next, and I think this will be a fun game because they're an up-and-comer. It's an early game on a Sunday, second night of a back-to-back. I am taking a W against the San Jose Sharks on October 26th.
With Jesper Wallstedt in net.
Yes, sir.
Most likely.
Yes, sir to Jesper.
Oh.
See what I did there?
Yeah, I did. All right. I with my second pick, I think this is also a lock. The last game of the month, they host the Pittsburgh Penguins, and yeah, I do not see Pittsburgh coming out on top after that one. After the Wild have had 3 prior home games at that point, they should be perfectly capable for beating the Pittsburgh Penguins.
I'm going to go next to the LA Kings on the 13th. This is one that I'm hoping I'm wrong about, but I'm going to pick an L against the Los Angeles Kings.
Interesting. I feel like there are better games to pick losses for in this month in that game, so that's a risky pick, but that could win you a lot of points.
If the Wild end up winning that game, I'm not going to be upset.
Okay, since you picked a loss, I feel like I have to pick a loss. I'm not just blaming myself, like I'm just making sure. That's how you win this game, honestly, is picking losses. The Wild aren't going to win every game. I think they do. I think they lose to the Rangers.
Okay.
I think the back-to-back with Philly and Washington is going to be tough, and then they have to go to New York. It doesn't look like a good recipe for success.
I am going to pick a win at the Washington Capitals for my next pick.
I like that. I do like that, actually. I was going to do that, but I know I needed to pick a loss. So it's my last pick, I think.
Yes.
Okay. My last pick. Ooh, man. I think they beat Winnipeg at home. I think they beat Winnipeg at home. I have to pick that because I have to pick that.
Yeah.
I have to. It's just right there.
I love that pick.
Have to.
Then I will take, I was wondering if maybe you would take this one. I'm going to take a win at St. Louis on Thursday.
Yep. Cool. I like that. That's for sure going to happen.
Which means that, oh my God, which means that the Ghost gets Dallas on the road, Philly on the road, New Jersey on the road.
Oh, man.
And Utah at home.
I feel like we have to team up against the Ghost. Not right now, but later in the year.
Yeah.
I think we're going to have to start picking road games a lot because the Wild are going to be favored at home a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like if you pick a road win, that's what's going to get you the marbles.
Yeah. If the Ghost goes 4-0 this month, we may have to tweak the strategy slightly because that is murderer's row as far as the schedule goes.
Yeah.
But I like this bet.
This is going to be fun.
We will we'll post on socials who everybody picked with the episode. So just let us know in the comments who you think has the best chance to accumulate the points. Again, you're picking what you think the expected outcome will be. If the game goes to overtime, you get a point. But if you pick it in regulation correctly, you get 2. If you pick it incorrectly in regulation, you get 0. You get nothing. So seeing who gets the most points, we've already both said over on 7 wins for the Wild here in October. Looking for the team to get off to a good start. They certainly did that in October last year as the Wild finished the month of October 6-1-2. So we'll see if they can get it done again here in October 2025. But we will, of course, have you covered throughout the entirety of the schedule here on Locked On Wild with postcasts for as many games as we can handle, plus guests throughout the month as well. Just make sure to stay tuned and subscribe so you don't miss out on any of the fun Locked On Wild has for you on a daily basis. We've got new episodes for you every Monday through Friday as part of the Locked On Podcast Network.